She loved him when he had nothing, but he left when he had everything. When Eric met Mira, he had nothing but dreams and an empty stomach. He was a struggling young man in the city, thin mattress on a bare floor, shoes with cracked soles, and rejection letters stacked like silent insults. Every morning he walked the streets with his head high, not because life was kind to him, but because he refused to let life see him broken. Mira noticed him on one of those mornings. She worked at a small roadside cafe, the kind where the chairs wobble and the food tastes like home. Eric would come in every evening, order the cheapest meal, and sit quietly with his thoughts. One day, when she noticed him counting coins before paying, Mira smiled and said, "Don't worry, this one's on me." That simple kindness became the beginning of everything. Mira didn't fall in love with Eric because he had money or status. She fell in love with his determination, his humility, and the way his eyes lit up whenever he talked about the future he wanted to build. She listened to his dreams like they were already real. She believed in him when no one else did, not even Eric himself. When Eric lost his job, Mira was there. When rent was overdue, she helped. When he wanted to give up, she refused to let him. She cooked for him, encouraged him, prayed for him, and sacrificed quietly. Sometimes she skipped meals so Eric could eat. Sometimes she walked long distances so he could save transport money. She never complained. To her, love wasn't about comfort. It was about commitment. Years passed. One night, Eric finally got his breakthrough. A business idea he had been working on, funded partly by Mira's savings, took off. Investors noticed him. Doors opened. Money began to flow. Suddenly, Eric was no longer the man people ignored. He bought new clothes, moved into a better apartment, started attending high-profile events, and slowly, subtly, he began to change. Mira noticed it first in the little things. He stopped calling as often. He became impatient with her simplicity. He started correcting her in public. One evening, when Mira suggested they celebrate quietly like they used to, Eric sighed and said, "You don't understand this world anymore. You always think like a local girl that you are." Those words cut deeper than any knife. Soon, Eric started coming home late, if he came home at all. He surrounded himself with people who praised his success but knew nothing about his past. And then one night he finally said it. "I've outgrown this relationship," he told Mira coldly. "I need someone who fits my new life." Mira didn't cry immediately. She just looked at him, really looked at him, and realized the man she loved was gone. Eric left her with nothing but memories and silence. Months later, Eric appeared everywhere, on billboards, social media, magazine covers. People admired him, envied him, and praised his rise from nothing. But karma was watching. Slowly, the cracks began to show. Business partners betrayed him. His glamorous relationship collapsed when money problems started. Legal troubles followed. One bad decision led to another, and soon the empire Eric built began to crumble. In the middle of his downfall, Eric fell sick, seriously sick. The people who once surrounded him disappeared. His phone stopped ringing. His house felt empty. One quiet afternoon, Eric found himself standing in front of a familiar cafe, Mira's cafe. He hadn't planned it. His feet just brought him there. Inside, Mira was still the same, calm, graceful, stronger than before. She had built her own life, her own peace. Eric tried to speak, but his voice shook. "I lost everything," he said. "I made a mistake." Mira listened silently. Finally, she replied, "I loved you when you had nothing, but when you had everything, you forgot me." There was no anger in her voice, only truth. She forgave him, not because he deserved it, but because she deserved peace. Eric walked away that day with regret heavier than poverty ever was. He realized too late that success means nothing if you abandon the one who stood with you when you had nothing to offer. Never abandon the person who loved you at your lowest just because you reached your highest. Money can change your lifestyle, but it should never change your loyalty. The love that grows with you through hardship is more valuable than the admiration that appears after success. Karma doesn't rush, but it never forgets. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new emotional and powerful stories like this. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Thank you all for watching.